Okay, so the Europeans are here and I got questions, right? So I just watched a video of a guy giggling his way through Walmart, and some of the more memorable items that he picked up and he ha-ha-had was over a gigantic tube of ground beef and a box of 60 eggs, right? And I just have the question of how often do you guys grocery shop? Because a lot of Americans bulk buy everything once a month, because that's just the fastest, cheapest, and most efficient way to prep our food for the month. And so I'm curious, do you guys buy your food a couple times a week or once a week? Why is this so surprising to see a large quantity of a product that a lot of us buy? I'm curious, and now I really want to see the inside of a European grocery store, because so yeah.
I had to come to Walmart for a couple of things today, and it just occurred to me that all of these Europeans that are in America right now for the FIFA World Cup and visiting their local Walmarts, they must think we are so batshit crazy. Because looking at all of this stuff with the mind of a European, it just occurred to me they must think we're in some...
The strangest thing did not happen when the British tourists first arrived in America. It happened a few weeks later, when they returned home. Imagine a man who had followed the England team through several cities. He had grown used to Target, Walmart, and hypermarkets so vast that a typical Target store can cover around 11,600 square meters. Food, clothing, electronics, medicine, and household goods were all under one roof. Then he returned to his familiar local shop in Britain. The trolley suddenly seemed smaller. Two people could barely pass each other in an aisle. A product came with only a few options. He found himself wondering, is that all? But the shop itself had not changed at all. The standard in his mind had changed. Nearly 3/4 of Tesco's network in Britain consists of stores no larger than 3,000 square feet. Meanwhile, America has thousands of Walmart supercenters designed to bring almost every need into a single shopping trip. And this is the part that makes Americans laugh. Many visitors once thought American stores were too large. But during the World Cup, some spent hours hunting for cosmetics, vitamins, clothing, and products that were difficult to find back home. To Americans, it was simply a trip to Target. To them, it was almost a tourist attraction. They came to America for football. But when they returned home, one question stayed with them. Why did shopping in America suddenly make the familiar shops back home feel so small? Why Britons thought American stores were excessive? Before setting foot in America, many British tourists believed they already understood American shopping culture. In their eyes, everything was too big. Stores were as vast as warehouses. Trolleys were large enough to hold weeks' worth of supplies for an entire family. Car parks stretched out like small airports. And for every simple product, there were dozens of almost identical choices. But that belief was not entirely unreasonable. Britain has more than 50,000 convenience stores, most of them located within residential neighbourhoods. For many British people, a good shop does not need to overwhelm its customers. It simply needs to be nearby, stock bread, milk, and a few essentials, and get them home quickly. They're also used to short shopping trips. If they need milk, they stop to buy milk. If they run out of vegetables, they pick some up on the way home. So an enormous trolley does not look like a symbol of convenience. It looks like an invitation to buy more than necessary. Even too much choice can become a burden. When all you want is a box of cereal, why should you have to stand in front of an entire wall of flavors, sizes, and brands? For Americans, a large store means having everything in one place. For British shoppers, it can mean walking past electronics, clothing, and decorative cushions just to find toothpaste. Before the trip, they believed Americans had turned a simple task into an entire industry. At least that was what they believed before the first set of doors opened. A shock of scale. The real shock began the moment the automatic...
Look at this. I'm not in a warehouse. I'm in a grocery store. What? It's massive. Massive. It's just normal. What are you talking about?
automatic doors opened. A British tourist stepped into an HEB Plus for the first time, looked up at rows of shelves stretching beneath a warehouse-high ceiling, and asked one very simple question. Just, how big is this place? After walking for a few more minutes, she began to laugh, not because she had found what she needed, but because she realized she could genuinely get lost. And that was not merely a figure of speech. Some of the largest HEB stores cover nearly 17,000 square meters. An average Costco spans around 147,000 square feet, with goods stacked on pallets and metal shelving towering above customers' heads. At one Walmart in Maine, simply walking a single lap around the inside of the store covers a quarter of a mile. 4 laps add up to more than a mile. For Americans, that might be nothing more than a Saturday morning shopping trip. But for a British visitor stepping inside for the first time, it feels like entering an indoor complex. Signs hang overhead like street signs. The aisles are numbered. The food section lies in one direction, the pharmacy in another, while the vision centre, auto care area and service counters form separate destinations within the same building. You do not simply look around for an item. You have to work out where you are.
Those are very big. Do you think they have them medium size?
Those are the only size.
Do you think they have a map?
Fine.
Well, it's so big. What if I get lost? Are you sure those are free? I'll get a few more. You should not shop on an empty stomach. I think I'm gonna get some water.
That's beer.
Are you sure? I'm calculating how much I need so I don't have to buy toilet paper the rest of the year. What do you mean we haven't even seen half the store yet? I think those are a good weight. This parking lot is very big. Where is the car?
Sometimes the section you need is so far away that going back for a forgotten item feels like walking to the opposite end of a neighborhood. Some retailers even include store maps in their apps, showing customers exactly which aisle contains a product. And that is when the old mockery begins to lose its force. British visitors once said American stores looked like warehouses, but standing beneath those high ceilings, surrounded by rows of pallets and aisles wide enough for trolleys to move like traffic on a road, they realized that warehouse is no longer an exaggeration. It is almost an exact description. They do not even need to look closely at what is being sold. The space alone is enough to make them stop, turn on the camera, and wonder how Americans can consider a place like this normal. But once the shock of the size begins to fade, another question emerges. What is filling all of that enormous space? Too many choices. After the initial shock at the size, the British tourists began moving closer to the shelves, and that was when they realized the scale of American stores was only the outer shell.
Going to an American supermarket after a year of living abroad.
Oh, I am just now realizing how absurdly big American supermarkets are. Just massive. But Italy, salad dressing is just not really a thing. Olive oil and balsamic vinegar are what's used in the US. This is the salad dressing aisle. All of these are salad dressings. Oh yeah. Italian foods. It's just pasta. It's literally just an entire aisle of pasta.
Sugar-free. Oh, you're not. It just keeps going. It's endless. I feel like you could get lost in here.
This is the most interesting part to me. The chip aisle. Just chips. Upon chips. Upon chips. Sorry, there's a whole other aisle.
Italian sweet cream growling flavor.
Honestly, that sounds good.
Yep.
Screaming Sicilian. That was fun. That was quite the experience.
An average supermarket in the United States can stock more than 33,000 items. But the overwhelming part is not that there are 33,000 completely different products. It is the way one very simple need is divided into dozens of versions. You do not simply buy cereal. You have to choose the flavor, size, sugar content, protein content, gluten-free version, family pack, or seasonal edition. Cheerios alone has nearly 30 different products and sizes in America. There are chocolate, fruit, pumpkin and banana caramel flavors, several protein ranges, and multiple versions of honey nut. To a British shopper accustomed to only a few core choices, an entire wall of Cheerios looks like a brand that has cloned itself. Then they turn into the biscuit aisle. Oreo is no longer simply Oreo. There are mint cream, birthday cake, golden, peanut butter, and limited edition flavors that appear like small events. Someone who only intended to buy the original packet suddenly stops, turns on the camera, and wonders which version is worth taking home as a souvenir. And then there are the sizes: 40 bottles of water, 60 eggs, 30 packets of snacks, even variety boxes containing as many as 50 small bags. For British tourists, the first question is not, how much does it cost? But is this meant for a family, a party, or an entire football team?
Go big or go home. Why is everything in America so big? I mean, look at this. Like, why? Why on earth would I need this? Like, everything is jumbo size. I just need a normal 330 ml beer. Everything is so big. What is this? What is the point? America, what is the point?
The oversized packs make them laugh, but only a few minutes later, the logic begins to reveal itself. A single shopping trip can provide breakfasts, snacks, and drinks for several days. The enormous trolley suddenly no longer seems as absurd as it did before. The most interesting part is how their confusion gradually turns into excitement. They begin comparing flavors, searching for versions that are not sold back home, choosing strange products simply to film themselves trying them. And in that moment, what once seemed excessive becomes surprisingly difficult to resist. Because in America, you are not only asked what you want to buy, you are also asked what you want it to taste like, who it is for, how long it needs to last, and how large a quantity you want to buy. But having more things to buy is only half the story. What truly changed their minds was the way American stores made it easy to take all of those things home. American stores aren't just bigger. They're built for convenience. What changed the British tourists' minds was not the moment they saw a gigantic store. It was the moment they realized the entire place had been designed to make customers' lives easier. Start with the car park. At first, they looked at that vast expanse of space and thought it was wasteful. But then they saw a mother drive into the drive-up area, open her boot, and within minutes, an employee had brought her entire order out to the car. No need to wake the sleeping child. No need to push a trolley across the car park in the rain. In some places, customers can even collect drinks, exchange items, or return products without barely leaving the driver's seat. At that point, the car park was no longer just an empty stretch of land in front of the store. It had become an outdoor service counter. Even the enormous trolley began to make sense. It did not simply carry goods through the aisles. It connected the shelves directly to the checkout, the car park, and the car boot. When the limit was no longer how much two arms could carry, a family could buy enough supplies for several days in a single trip. Then there was time. In Britain, large shops face restrictions on their Sunday opening hours. But in America, many locations serve customers from early morning until late at night. For shift workers, busy parents, or supporters who had just left the stadium, the store adapted to their schedules instead of forcing them to organize their entire day around closing time. Inside, convenience continued to appear in details that seemed almost insignificant. Air conditioning, toilets, food courts, pharmacies, optical counters, tire centers. A parent could look after a child. An older person could sit down and rest. A customer could have a snack while waiting for their car to be serviced. And then there was the returns policy. Most goods could be returned within a generous period, sometimes in several different ways. That changed the customer's mindset even before payment was made. They knew that if they chose the wrong size, changed their mind, or found that the product was unsuitable, they still had a way out. That was when the British visitors began to understand. Americans did not simply build stores to hold more products. They built an entire journey from the moment the car turned into the car park until the item was placed in the boot, and even when the customer decided to bring it back. When British shoppers lose control in American stores. At first, they only intended to buy water. A group of British tourists left their hotel between two matches, stopped by Walmart, and promised themselves they would be back in 10 minutes. The plan was simple. Pick up a few bottles of water, some snacks, and head back. 40 minutes later, they still had not found the water aisle. Along the way, one person took a wrong turn into the household goods section. Another stopped in front of a frying pan that was on sale. One girl picked up 3 Tide-to-go pens and declared that they were something she simply had to buy, even though she had never known they existed before.
So, you like shopping in America a lot better, honey? We've already got 3 items.
White girl, fine.
You can wait. You're ready to go to Walmart?
I get a shopper.
You like the jumper too?
Yeah, it's
No.
24 quid in England, it's about 95 quid.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
By the time they finally found the water, the trolley also contained cosmetics, sauces, seasonings, sleepwear, a decorative cushion, and several gifts that no one could remember deciding to buy. That is a very American kind of magic. You walk in to buy one item and come out as though you are preparing to open a small shop at home. But the real trouble only began at the checkout. They looked at the enormous packages and suddenly remembered that they did not have a car boot. They had a small hotel room, 2 nearly full suitcases, and a transatlantic flight waiting ahead. One person tried to calculate how many extra layers of clothing they could wear to make room for snacks. Another seriously considered leaving behind a pair of shoes so they could take the hay pumpkin cushion back to Britain. And somewhere nearby, an American was watching the scene with an expression that seemed to ask, "Did you really fly halfway around the world to buy this?" The funny thing was that the very items Americans considered ordinary became trophies for the tourists. A stain removal pen, a sauce sold only in America, a strange version of a biscuit, a decorative item that had nothing to do with the World Cup. Then the Walmart trip began to take on a different meaning. It was no longer an errand. It became entertainment between matches. They filmed videos, tried products, sent photos to friends, and debated whether Target, Walmart, or Costco was worth spending an entire afternoon in. At first, they went in simply to kill time. By the end of the trip, they had started checking maps to find the nearest store. And the people who had once said America sold far too many things were now facing an entirely different problem. Not what they should buy, but how they were going to get it all home. Back in Britain, the reverse culture shock begins. The biggest shock did not come when they first arrived in America. It came a few weeks later when they returned to Britain and stepped back into their familiar local shop. Everything was still in its usual place. The baskets were still stacked by the entrance. The checkout was still at the end of the aisle. Nothing had changed. But the feeling had. The aisles suddenly seemed narrower. The sections seemed to end sooner than they remembered. An item they had only just become used to buying in America was nowhere to be found. Another was on special offer, but only if they scanned the correct membership app. Then the shopping list began to split apart. Food here, household goods somewhere else. One product offering better value at a third chain. Just to save a few pounds, they had to remember another shop, another membership scheme, and another trip. Before the journey, that was simply normal life. After they returned, it felt as though a whole series of small obstacles had suddenly revealed themselves at once. One person opened their phone and started searching for their club card. Another checked Nectar. The price on the shelf might be the regular price, the member price, the price by weight, or a price that only applied when buying several. What had once been done almost by instinct now suddenly felt like a management exercise, and that was when they realized the standard in their minds had changed. Not because Britain had suddenly become worse, not because the local shop had shrunk overnight. The yardstick they used to measure the shopping experience had simply grown longer. In America, they had become used to completing a long list without constantly having to start again at another shop door. They no longer had to think so much about which shop, which app, or which trip the next item belonged to. Now, every time they were forced to divide the list, they remembered what it felt like to get everything done in one seamless journey. This was the strangest reverse culture shock of all. You return to the place you know best, only to discover that you no longer fully belong to your old habits. At first, they had laughed at the way Americans turned a single store into an entire world. But after returning home, they finally understood the most dangerous thing about convenience. Once you become used to it, everything else starts to feel like a step backwards. Americans didn't just build bigger stores, they built a better system. They came to America to watch the World Cup. They thought the most memorable things would be the stadiums, the roar of the crowds, and the matches they would talk about for years to come. But when the trip ended, something else quietly stayed with them. Not a souvenir or a packet of unfamiliar snacks, but a new standard for how shopping should work. Because what makes American stores different has never been just their size. Behind those enormous buildings is an entire system organized around 3 promises: more choice, less hassle, and shorter waiting times. A store is no longer simply a place where customers walk in and take products off the shelves. It can also serve as a local warehouse, an online order processing center, a collection point, a returns point, and a link in the delivery network. You can start on your phone, check whether an item is in stock, order it in advance, pick it up on your way home, or have it delivered to your door. When your plans change, the way you receive the item can change with them. The product is arranged around the customer's life rather than forcing the customer to arrange their entire day around the product. That is the real advantage. In American retail, speed is no longer a special reward. It is gradually becoming the standard. Customers expect information to appear immediately, products to be available, and the distance between "I need this" and "I have it" to keep getting shorter. When the system works well, shoppers barely notice what is happening behind the scenes. They do not see inventory data being updated. They do not see employees preparing orders. They do not see software coordinating with warehouses and delivery networks. They simply feel that everything is easier. And that may be the greatest achievement of American retail, making customers think less about the act of shopping itself. Of course, this model is not perfect. It can encourage overconsumption and put pressure on workers, supply chains, and the environment. Not every community has equal access to it. But after experiencing it firsthand, British visitors may find it difficult to keep dismissing all of it as pointless excess. They do not need to turn the shops back home into copies of Walmart or Target, but they have brought home a new expectation. They came to America to watch the World Cup. But when they returned, some British visitors carried a more uncomfortable question with them. Are the shops back home truly good enough, or have they simply become used to accepting less?